Hello, my friends. I hope all of my fellow American citizens had a happy Independence Day. But now that that holiday is out of the way, we all know what every candle company, fragrance company, where their attention is turning. Say it with me, fall. And in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you the 6 new fragrances that are going to be part of KRINGLE's fall lineup. Full disclosure, as we get into this video, these candles were sent to me in PR. A huge thank you to KRINGLE for getting these to me a little bit early so that way I can get my nose on them. These will be available this Thursday, July 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, you may notice something a little bit different. It might be a little bit bittersweet for those of you guys who loved the Country Candle line, but back in the spring and summer, KRINGLE did notify us that that was going to be the last new Country Candle launch. And they followed through on their word because for the fall right now, we only have these 6 fragrances from KRINGLE. Stay tuned to the end of this video though, because I have some I have some observations about this launch, and I have maybe some like hopes, maybe just I don't know. We're going to chat about this launch a little bit. But regardless, I'm very excited that these have shown up on my doorstep, and I'm excited to share with you my thoughts, as well as in true fashion. It wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't rank them from my least favorite to favorite, but you guys always know on Cold Sniff that can always change because there have been times where, thinking of last year, I think my #1 fragrance that I loved on Cold Sniff, I ended up not liking upon burn. The other thing that I did want to remind you guys of for this launch, this is not limited edition. So even though we are all excited, or not all, I shouldn't make that assumption. I'm excited for fall fragrances, but I have heard from a lot of people who have said, no, please let me just enjoy my summer scents. And if you're in that camp, just continue enjoying your summer fragrances. But I do know that fall candle burning season is a highlight for a lot of people, and so it gets a lot of people excited. So I just wanted to say though that if you are in the camp where you're not yet ready to purchase fall fragrances, or maybe you want to wait for some more dedicated post-burn reviews on these candles before ordering, these are not limited edition. They are going to be around. They're going to be around for a long time probably, so no rush, no hurry. But if you are somebody who wants to get your hands on them right at launch time, I do have an affiliate discount code. Katie15 will save you 15% off of your purchase. So let's go ahead and dive into these fragrances because I think that there's some excitement. I mean, there's always excitement about fall. Okay, let's go ahead. First fragrance that I wanted to go ahead and talk about is Vancouver Cabin. Now, I have to say the label on this, this looks stunning. This looks like a place that my husband would love to go visit and stay in. Fun fact, Cody and I, some of you guys have met him here on previous videos. I am a beach girl through and through. I find my peace at the beach. My husband is a mountain man. He loves him the mountains. So Vancouver Cabin, fragrance notes of bergamot, cedar, balsamic, patchouli, moss, and amber. Okay, so here's the thing about this one. If you are familiar with the reserve fragrance that they had last year called Heartwood, this reminds me of that fragrance. They're different, but I feel like they're siblings to each other. My nose definitely picks up on patchouli and cedar. Those are the 2 notes that are like right off the bat that hit me here. Yeah, it's definitely patchouli, cedar, maybe a little bit of bergamot in there that might lend a little bit of citrus. I don't detect a lot of moss. Maybe a little bit of amber gives it like a warm perfuminess. But to my nose, this is predominantly cedar and patchouli. Patchouli is always like a hit or miss fragrance note for me. I like this one. I don't love it. I will just be honest with you guys. I don't love this fragrance. I remember that I ended up decluttering Heartwood. But I will make sure, you guys, that I do burn all of these candles. I won't have post burns done for you guys prior to the launch, mainly because I'm actually doing a little bit of pre-filming. I'm actually going out of town for the week that this will be launching, so I won't have time to get post burns up for you guys on these. But I do I like this fragrance, but it's not a love for me. Fun fact, you guys, none of these immediately, like sometimes they send me a launch and I don't love there's sometimes like a fragrance that I'm like, no, I don't like that one. I'm not going to burn it at all. I don't feel that way about any of these fragrances. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, stay tuned for my thoughts. on the rest of these. Okay, another fragrance that quite honestly had me a little bit intrigued because I feel like this might be a follow-up to a very popular fragrance from the 2024 lineup. This is Whiskey and Embers. So last year we had, I have it right here. What was that called? Warm and Toasty, which a lot of us suspected might have been like Kringle's take on the beloved Marshmallow Fireside from Bath and Body Works. Now, I am somebody who loves Warm and Toasty. I actually have it here. So I see Whiskey and Embers and I think like, is that going to be maybe like in the same fragrance family? So we have fragrance notes here of whiskey, wood smoke, tonka, spice, amber, and wood. So this one, I like this fragrance. Do I love it as much as Warm and Toasty? No. Different. They're. I would say they're in that same fragrance family. So if you like the smoky note that's in Warm and Toasty, the same smoky note is in here. I definitely do detect that. Yeah, I've got that there, and I'm gonna have the Warm and Toasty lid here just to kind of give you side by side comparison. Warm and Toasty has more of that like marshmallow sweetness in it, and that amber, that like golden amber, whereas this to me is more, it's the same smoky note, but I do get the whiskey in here. There is a little bit of booziness in here. The whiskey isn't as sweet as, say, their Bourbon Bonfire. A lot of other people say that that one's kind of boozy to them, but the boozy note that I get in Bourbon Bonfire is more of a bourbon than it is a whiskey. Whiskey to me is a little bit less sweet. I'm just talking about like the fragrance profile. I really don't drink a whole lot. But yeah, I get whiskey in that one. I get that wood smoke note. Tonka, yeah, Tonka can come across a little bit like vanilla-like, but there's no real like creaminess to this. I'm curious to see if there's any kind of like spice that comes out in this. Maybe a little bit of spice, but I don't detect any like overall like pumpkin spice, cinnamon, nothing like that. But for those of you guys who love the way that Kringle does, like their like smokier, slightly like masculine evening type of sense, it's not cologne like. I would just categorize it, if you like their like more hearth smoky type of fragrances, you're going to like this one, but it's not overly smoky. That whiskey note kind of balances it out in there. Very, very nice fragrance. I actually think that this will complement Warm and Toasty very well. I'm planning to actually burn them alongside each other. This is also a fragrance that I could see pairing really nicely with the new Blackjack Reserve fragrance. I am hoping, you guys, because again, I told you guys I'm pre-filming this before I leave to go out of town. I am hoping to get you guys post-burn reviews on all three of those new Reserve candles. I hope to get those up for you guys next week prior to this launch in case you've been eyeing those, but you're waiting for more dedicated reviews. I'm hoping to get those. I feel like all three of those candles are now at a place where I'm ready to give a dedicated post-burn review. So that's next on my list of things to film for you guys. But Whiskey and Embers, I do like that one. Okay, another fragrance that I actually told my husband, I was like, oh, I think you're going to like the label on this one. So this is the fragrance Rosewood and Vetiver. Another fun fact about my husband, he is he actually knows how to build guitars, like builds them from scratch. Builds some incredible, amazing guitars. He also plays the guitar very, very well. So I thought that he would like this one because he loves fall and then also this beautiful acoustic guitar. So Rosewood and Vetiver has fragrance notes of amber, wood, floral, fruit, amber again, tobacco leaf. So this one's nice. I like this one more than the Vancouver Cabin. This is also a very woody fragrance. Yeah, they say wood is listed in here. I don't know all of the different types of wood, but to me, it comes across a little bit like cedar, but there's no patchouli in it, whereas there's patchouli definitely in that Vancouver Cabin one. This one is more of like a cedar. You know what? There's almost like a suede note in here that there's elements of this that reminds me a little bit of last year. Was it their fall reserve? I think it was part of their fall reserve. The sunflowers and suede candle. I think that's what it was called. And I said that I thought that should have been called like suede rose or something like that because there was a rose note in there. I don't detect any rose in here, but I do smell like a suede note in here that reminds me a little bit of that sunflower and suede. But there's also cedar. maybe my nose is smelling suede and it's coming across as cedar, but they do list wood, and I do think that it's a light cedar note in here. Amber, yeah, I mean, they have amber listed twice. That tobacco leaf is in here as well. I like the smell of tobacco, not like cigarette tobacco, but like pipe tobacco. I do like this fragrance of that, or like loose leaf tobacco. And I do get a little bit of that in here. I think if you're somebody, like I said, if you liked that sunflowers and suede, the other fragrance that I'm thinking of, it's not a dupe, it's not the same thing, but if you liked the tobacco note that was in the Halloween fragrance, I had it a couple of years ago. It was called Scarecrow. If you liked the tobacco note in there, I feel like it's the same tobacco note in this. I think they also had a tobacco note last year in their Skull and Sonnet, which you guys know I love that fragrance, from Halloween. I wonder if they'll bring that one back. We'll talk about that at the end of this video. But I actually really like this one, Rosewood and Vetiver. Again, a fragrance that's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but I do enjoy it. Okay, and then let's see, what else do we have here? Amberwood Moss. So we know Kringle and their moss. I feel like they've been on like a moss kick for like the last year. So we have Amberwood Moss. Fragrance notes are amber, moss. Oh, real creative there. Green, Fougere, Stemmy greens, Lavandin, which is a fancy word for lavender, fir, and wood. So I like this one. Okay, here's what I was smelling this and I was like, this smells a little bit familiar to me. Not a dupe. I definitely get the fir note in there. This is the one that's a little bit, if you're looking for more of like a really fresh, outdoorsy, not as woody, heavy, maybe something that has a little bit more of like an outdoor air vibe to it. This is the one that I would point you to. Of all of the 6 candles here that are in front of me, that this is the one that fits that vibe. It's not minty and it's not as like pungent as say last year's kittens and cat, not kittens. What was the one with the kittens? What was it? The kitten one, the cute kitten one. Why can't I not think of it? Anyways, I'll pop it up on the screen here. It's not as like minty or as close to sweater weather as that one, but was it Kittens and Cashmere? Is that what it was called? I feel like it was. That's going to drive me crazy. But this to me, you know what this reminds me of? Last winter, they had a winter flight collection, and there was a fragrance called Tranquil Winter. That one had a fir note in there. I think there was some apple. This to me reminds me of that fragrance, but there's something a little bit more like green and mossy to it. That's kind of hard for me to explain. But if you liked the way that Kringle did that Spanish moss in the spring lineup, I think that you would like this. I feel like this is like the fall sibling to Spanish moss. They did also have a reserve candle last year that had a moss note to it, but I don't feel like that one had fir. I definitely smell the fir tree in here. Which I think Kringle does fir tree really well. Lavandin, like I do smell a little bit of like an herbaceousness to this fragrance. Not overly like spa, like herbal. Fougere, I don't really know what that fragrance note is, other than I know that that fragrance note was in it was in a reserve candle a couple of years ago, and I could not. Oh, the red maple. I couldn't get behind that one. That one just smelled like dirt to me. Ugh, I didn't like that one at all. It smelled dirty. But I like this. I can get behind this. This I feel like is, for those of you who love fresh autumnal fragrances, this is going to be the one for that. But it's not overly, like I said, it's not overly minty or too crisp smelling on cold. This one's very nice. I do like this Amberwood Moss. Okay, and then we have another fragrance here called Velvet Fig. So Velvet Fig has fragrance notes of ripe fig, sweet, cognac, creamy, amber, tonka, and woody. So, all right, you guys, this is the one I'm going to tell you guys. This is the fragrance that has grown on me the most since I opened up the box. At first, I wasn't so sure what to think about it. And truthfully, you guys, it's pretty warm here in Arizona as it is throughout most of the country in summer. So when these candles were delivered yesterday, they were still a little bit warm off of the truck. So obviously I couldn't wait to smell them. So I smelled them, but then I let them cool for a few hours and then I went back and smelled them again. This one has really grown on me. I like this. The fig note I pick up in here is the same fig note that was in the Crimson and Clover fragrance from a reserve lineup a couple of years ago. If you like the fig note in there, you're going to detect it in here. But I actually like this better than that Crimson and Clover. There's something that's kind of sweet and creamy to this fragrance. It says Velvet Fig. Yeah, see, there's a creamy accord listed here. The Cognac doesn't make this very boozy. I think the Cognac makes this a little bit sweeter. I do know that there was a Halloween candle last year, the Thirst candle, which was a Cognac heavy type of fragrance. I feel like the Cognac in here is much more toned down than that one. That was like definitely a more like robust, deep fragrance. That's not what I get here. The star of this one is really like, there's a creamy figness to this. I actually really like this one a lot. Like the more I smell it, there's something I think that's oddly nostalgic about this fragrance to me. I don't know if my mom had like a perfume or something. It's sweet and it says ripe fig, but not cloyingly sweet. Little bit of amber in there. But this is not a perfumey fragrance. This one's kind of hard for me to categorize. I would say that of all of these, this is probably, well, yeah, I would say that this is probably like their attempt to do like, kind of go outside of the box in an autumnal fruit type of way. But I like this one, this Velvet Fig. I have a feeling that this one's going to be like the dark horse of the collection that a lot of people might pick up and be like, ooh, that one's actually really good. Fig in and of itself is not a fragrance profile that I am overly familiar with. I feel like a lot of brands, I don't really see it like pumped out as much as say, you know, especially in the autumn, apple, cranberry, pumpkin. Like fig is kind of a little bit more of like an outlier. So I'm very curious about that one burning. I have to say that's the one that I'm most intrigued about to see how it burns. And then last but certainly not least, I feel like this is the fragrance that most people are going to be the most excited about because you have noticed this is pretty much the lone gourmand fragrance that is being released here for fall, and this is Apple Rum Cake. So we have fragrance notes of apple, spiced rum, dates, fruit, pastry, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And here's the thing on this one. This is well done. I do like this a lot. I feel like, so this to me kind of smells like an apple cider type of note. It's apple cider, but I do detect in the background like a spice cake note. And funny enough, the spice cake note that I'm detecting in here, I feel like it's very, very similar to the carrot cake that they used for their Easter launch. I feel like it's that same, probably spice cake accord, spice cake base that they use in that candle. I think they're like kind of like tweaking it and repurposing it, maybe putting it in this vehicle or in this vessel. But it is definitely, it's a totally different fragrance. It is not carrot cake repackaged at all. My nose definitely detects that apple. You get the spices in there. That cinnamon is in there. Some of that nutmeg. Those are the first things that hit me. But if you smell it a little bit more, that it's not really pastry to me. It is kind of that like spice cake accord is there in the background. I'm very curious about, this is the other one that I'm really curious about lighting. Dates, yeah, there is a little bit of a date component in here, but it's not as heavy as the apple note. This is very, very nice. This is like quintessential early fall to me. This is a fragrance that I would really like. I feel like this one's going to go well with a lot of other fragrances in my collection. So yeah, this is the lone gourmand of the collection. So let's go ahead and rank them for me. Coming in at number 6, just end this again. So you're my cold sniff rankings. I will make sure to do post burns for all of you guys eventually. Vancouver Cabin coming in at number 6. No surprise, you guys. It's the patchouli note in here that like I don't love patchouli, but like I said, if you liked heartwood, I think that you're going to like this fragrance. Coming in at number 5, oddly enough, see, this is where things are getting kind of like wonky for me. I feel like I feel like Rosewood and Vetiver is probably going to be number 5 for me. I do enjoy it, but again, it's that there's a cedar note in here. I like it, but I think maybe because I feel like it smells, I think these two, because they already smell similar to fragrances that I've already had from Kringle before, maybe I'm just not as intrigued by them. Surprisingly, you guys, I think this one's going to surprise a lot of you guys. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Whiskey and Embers. I still, if you're going to ask me on cold sniff which one I prefer, I still prefer Warm and Toasty over this one. But I do think that this is nice. I am somebody who does like Kringle's smokier fragrances. This is going to be like a good, nice, cozy evening burn. Maybe if you found the marshmallow note in Warm and Cozy to be a little bit too much for you, or sorry, Warm and Toasty, not Warm and Cozy. Warm and Toasty, if you found that marshmallow note to be a little bit too sweet for you or it didn't hit you right, then I think that you would probably like Whiskey and Embers if you want more of a focus on the smoky element. Coming in at number 3 is going to be this Amberwood Moss. I actually think that I might burn this with, I think that fragrance is Kittens and Cashmere. The more that I smell this, the more that I really, really like this fragrance. It's green, but it's like autumnal green. It's kind of hard for me to describe that. But if you really loved the Spanish moss in the springtime and you're looking for like a fall complementary fragrance or something that falls like in that same fragrance family, but it's more appropriate for fall, then I think you're going to like this Amberwood Moss. Really, really love this fragrance. Okay, and then the top 2 here, no surprise, I'm going to go with, I think you guys are going to maybe be shocked by this. I think Apple Rum Cake is actually going to be number 2 for me, only because, I mean, I really, really like this. The only reason I'm going to give this Apple Rum Cake number 2 is because I actually am so intrigued by the uniqueness of Velvet Fig. This is just a unique fragrance to me. And again, the more I stick my nose in it, the more I'm intrigued by it. Just a really, like, it's a creamy fig note. There's something that's kind of cozy and comforting about this. This is, again, I wouldn't qualify this really technically as being like a true gourmand, but I think there's that creamy element in here makes me think of a gourmand. It's not cake. It's not anything like that, but I do like that one. So that is my tentative ranking so far. You know, what I enjoy the most on cold sniff. So let's go ahead and talk about this here, because I did tell you that I was going to share my thoughts on this. We have noticed here, and I think that the masses might be a little bit upset, there's really only truly one gourmand in here. And I know that not everybody are gourmand lovers. However, I know a lot of people are saying Kringle does gourmand well. Why are they not leaning into that? Personally, you guys, I think that one of the things that Kringle prides themselves on is being a little bit more conceptual with a lot of their fragrances. I think that they are the brand that is not afraid to kind of like go outside of their, just kind of go outside of the box, introduce some different fragrances. We saw that with their initial Reserve lineup when they had the cannabis candle and when they had the late night, the one that like smelled like French fries. You know, they tend to like to kind of like push the envelope a little bit. So it is interesting to me that they only are offering one gourmand. Now, my thought process here, or maybe these are my own personal hopes, I don't have any insider information. I am partially wondering if they are, we do know that Kringle's Bread and Butter coming up, really probably their biggest launch of the whole year is going to be coming up soon. And that those are their Halloween fragrances, which do tend to be more like patchouli, earthy, you know, all of this stuff going with that holiday. But I think one of the things that we do forget here is that every season, Kringle does tend to do a reserve lineup. They've done it, you know, for the spring fragrances, summer, and they tend to go a little bit, you know, those tend to be a little bit more, I feel like their most recent reserve fragrances have been very much like they are floral reserve, or they are like the, this most recent one was very much like kind of like a masculine type of reserve fragrance. My hope, this is just my hope is that the fall reserve will be gourmand heavy. That's my hope. I have realized that Kringle does not have just a plain pumpkin pie fragrance in their lineup. Like, wouldn't it be fantastic if they pulled a pumpkin pie reserve candle like out of their hat? So that is my hope. I'm either hoping that they will do it in a reserve lineup, or they will do the other thing that we've been seeing them do are kind of these small little, like, they had a winter flight and they had a summer flight collection. The summer flight was the bottle rocket and cherry pie fragrances. In the winter flight had that tranquil winter, and I think was it Arctic Highway? Like, there were a couple of fragrances there. So I'm just wondering if Kringle has something up their sleeve in terms of having an exclusive fall gourmand type of collection. I mean, it would behoove me like if they didn't do that, just because I feel like they have been doing gourmands really, really well and people are wanting more of them. But I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I do think that, you know, they need more gourmands here, but I would say that this collection is very out of the box. I want to say out of the box, but like, it's just not mainstream fall. I think that that's one of the things that Kringle prides themselves on. They know that there are other brands that people can go to for their comfort fragrances, and that's totally fine. I think that they just kind of pride themselves on being a little bit more conceptual and fitting that that customer. So I don't know. You guys chime in down below. What do you guys think about that? But those are just my thoughts. I hope that they do something with gourmands because they do them really, really well. But I will say that these 6 fragrances, I'm not unhappy with any of them. I actually do enjoy all of them pretty much on cold sniff. Like I said, those last 2 are probably ones that if I went in store, I probably wouldn't have purchased them. Actually, I will say the 3 at the bottom, I probably wouldn't have purchased them if I picked them up in store. Maybe the Whiskey and Embers, because I do enjoy myself a smoky fragrance. But the top 3, I definitely would have purchased in store because I do like those fragrances. They intrigue me enough. Very, very good fragrances. So let me know in the comment box down below if any of these have caught your eye. I did also forget to check my email beforehand, but I will make sure that I list in the description box down below for all of you guys what formats these will be available. My guess, just going off of what was available in the spring, I believe that these will be available at least in these large 2 wicks. I would think that they would release these in the 4 wicks because they did do that in the spring. I'm pretty sure that there will be daylights and wax melts. I don't believe that they'll do medium 2 wicks because I don't believe that they're releasing any more medium 2 wicks. And I'm unsure about the painted 3 wicks because I do know that that is a model that they are trying to move away from right now. So my best guess at this moment, and I will confirm it, like I said, down in the description box, is that my best guess is that for sure these will be available in these large 2 wicks. Pretty certain that they're going to be available in the 4 wicks, and then daylights and wax melts. So I don't know, you guys. This is just, it's all pretty exciting, and I'm very happy for fall. So wanted to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. I mentioned it a little bit earlier here in the video, but I am going out of town this week. My family and I, we are taking a little trip out west. I mean, we are already west, but we're going to go a little bit further west. We're going to go visit the happiest place on earth for a couple of days before making our way to go visit some family for the rest of our trip. Just kind of get out of this really hot weather here in Arizona. So I will not be able to burn any of these before I leave town, but when I do get back, I will make sure to start burning these and start developing some thoughts. And as I get to that halfway point, I will make sure to give you guys some post-burn reviews. Like I said, on my docket to film before I get out of town are reviews on Polo, Blackjack, and Tangelo Sour. In case you have been waiting for some reserve candles, we all know we try to save on shipping when we place a Kringle order. So I'm going to try to have those reviews up for you guys prior to the launch on Thursday. And then if I do get around to it, I'm hoping to give you guys a little bit of like a personal fragrance haul, one of those fun videos that I throw in every once in a while. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. Again, please hit thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I do want to say thank you so very, very much for spending your time here with me today. Until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.